Hey guys, welcome back to the whiteboard. Because you're in my class, or if you watch some of these videos, my smartboard is haunted, or I think it has COVID or something. It is just nuts. So I'm going to use whiteboard for today because it's all we're doing is some practice problems, okay? So we're literally just solving radical equations, okay? So solving equations with radicals in there. So first two, we're gonna do square root. And then, so ignore this for now. We're gonna get to that, but just ignore that. We're gonna just solve some equations with square roots. Okay, so the first problem that we're gonna do is 3 plus the square root of 2x minus 3 is equal to 8. Okay, so when solving these, square root or radical or whatever, we're trying to get this by itself. Always try to get the radical by itself, and then we're going to undo that radical to solve for this x. Okay, so kind of think about this like as a variable. And then, so we get that by itself to solve for this variable. Okay, so that's all we're doing is try to get x. Okay, so let's do that. So think of this as a variable. What's on the same side of this is this 3. Okay, we gotta move it over. We wanna isolate this, so moving the 3 over, we subtract 3 to both sides. We get the square root of 2x minus 3 is equal to 8 minus 3 is 5. Okay, so our radical is isolated. So we want to undo that. To undo the square root, we have to square it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the square of both sides. Okay, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. Okay, so the square root of 2x minus 3 squared is just the 2x minus 3. That's equal 5 squared is 25. Now we just have a simple equation and we can solve for x. So we add 3 to both sides. 2x is equal to 28. Divide by 2. X is equal to 14. Okay, so that is the first one. Let's do another one. Another square root. So we have 4x plus 1. So that is under the radical, and then minus 5, which is on the outside. So you notice this right here is what we want to isolate. Okay, what's on the same side of that is this negative 5. So we want to move it over. By doing that, we add 5 to both sides. So we bring down the square root of 4x plus 1 is equal to 0 plus 5 is 5. Okay, we still want to undo this radical. The opposite of a square root would be a square, so we square both sides. Okay. The square root of 4x plus 1 squared is just 4x plus 1. And that's equal to 5 squared is 25. Again, simple one-step equation. We solve for x, subtract 1 to both sides. 4x is equal to 25 minus 1 is 24. Divide by 4, we get x is equal to 6, okay? And whenever you get these, you can always go back in and plug it in to check your answer to see if you got it correct. Okay, so those are square roots. Super simple. Isolate the square root, square both sides, solve for x, okay? Now let's talk about if it's raised to other powers, okay? So now we can ignore this and talk about it. So it says to solve equations of the form x to the mn power is equal to k. Okay, so we're going to have not just squared root. Raise each side of the equation to the power of nn. So basically we're raising each power to the reciprocal of that fraction. Okay, if either m or n is even, okay, then you have to take it one step further and then take each one the absolute value of both sides and then figure out your answers. Plug them back in to see if they work as far as negatives, because remember you can't take the square root of a negative number. And so we're gonna have to do that. So let's take a look at 2 practice problems. Okay, so the first one that we have is 3 times the 5th root of x plus 1 cubed, and then plus 1 is equal to 25. Okay, so again, first thing that we want to do is isolate this radical. Okay, I know it looks pretty rough, but we got this. Step by step, isolate this, okay? Like if that was an x, that was 3x plus 1, our first step would be to subtract 1. Same thing. So we subtract 1 to both sides. So 3 times the 5th root of x plus 1 cubed is equal to 25 minus 1 is 24, okay? Now this 3 is being multiplied by the radical. We want to undo that by dividing by 3 to both sides. So we have the fifth root of x plus 1 cubed is equal to 24 divided by 3 is 8. Okay, cool. So now let's change this as a ratio. So we have x plus 1, and remember this is the same thing as raising it to the 1/5 power. So that would be 3 over 5 is equal to 8. Okay, so here is what we do. So if we have this, to undo this raised to the 3/5 power, we raise it to the reciprocal, so to the 5 over 3 power. Okay, so we're going to raise this to the 5 over 3, or I'm going to put it over here, sorry, 5 over 3, and then raise the 8 to the 5 over 3. Okay, this, remember that, you know, that just cancels, 3 cancels, 5 cancels, so then over here we just have our x plus 1 equals, so now we need to figure out what 8 to the 5/3 power is. Pause. Unpause. Okay, so if you use Desmos, the scientific calculator, I would go over that with you, but my smartboard. So we're just going to take 8 and we're going to raise it to the 5 over 3 power. In Desmos, like the scientific calculator, if you look, I don't know if this is going to be visible, but you can see it's 8 to the 5/3 power is 32. Okay, so we have x plus 1 is equal to 32. Okay, subtract 1, we get x is equal to 31. Okay, I kind of forgot to talk about this whole, if either of them are even, then you have to do the absolute value of it, both sides. 3 and 5 are not even. 3 and 5 are both odd, so we are good to go, and your answer is 31. Okay, so we don't have to worry about two solutions here because 3 and 5 are both odd. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, and this one, the directions say what are the solution or solutions, like this, and so that kind of gives you a hint that like maybe there could be possibles. So let's kind of watch for that. So we have 2, and then x plus 3. This is raised to the 2/3 power is equal to 8. Okay, so it's raised to the 2/3 power, the m over n, 2 is even. Okay, so we're gonna end up having to do the absolute value part. So let's get started. So we want to isolate this. So the 2 is being multiplied, so we undo that by division. Divide by 2, x plus 3 raised to the 2/3 power is equal to 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so now we want to undo this. Okay, the reciprocal of 2 over 3 is 3 over 2, so we're going to raise this to the 3 over 2 power. Okay, so 4 raised to the 3 divided by 2 power is 8. Don't know if you can see that again, but it's 8. Okay, so we bring down this cancels, so we bring down our x plus 3 is equal to 8. Okay, so we can't just subtract our 3 because since 2 is even, x plus 3 is actually equal to the absolute value of 8. Okay, so now we're going to recall from chapter 1 how to solve absolute value equations. Okay, sorry, this is a lie. Not absolute value of 8. Absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to 8. My bad. Because, remember, the square root, like you have to take the square root of both sides, it's a plus or minus, right? You can have a positive times a positive is a positive, but a negative times a negative is also a positive. So we have to think that this inside could either be a positive or negative. So we split it up into two equations, and we're going to say x plus 3 is equal to positive 8, and then x plus 3 is equal to negative 8. Okay, we solve. Subtract 3, we get x is equal to 5. And then here we subtract 3, x is equal to negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. Okay, so we have these two solutions. Okay, what you need to do from here, you don't, like, right here, you won't just say, okay, let's put them in your answer, like, you know, separate them from a comma in MathXL. You have to go back through and re-plug them in. and to make sure that it is a true thing, because some of the negatives won't actually work out. So you just literally, again, I don't know if you can see this, but we have 2 and then the 5 plus 3 raised to the 2/3 power. And we get positive 8. Okay, and then here the negative 11, we have 2 times negative 11 plus 3 raised to the 2 divided by, oh no, that's wrong. 2 and then x, so negative 11 plus 3 raised to the 2/3 power equals 8. Okay, so they both work. So here are your 2 solutions. Okay, and there's only one like that in your homework problem. This is literally as hard as it's gonna get. So that's that, solving radical equations. You guys got it. If you have questions, email me or Mr. Thomas. We may do some more of these like videos about like this, but again, there's only one like this in your homework, okay?